The story begins with a view of a dense forest, where a man named Joseph is setting traps to catch prey with his daughter Renee. Joseph is a professional hunter who has been living in this forest with his wife and daughter for many years. They survive by eating the meat of the animals they hunted and selling their skins. After every hunt, Joseph would record the details of the animal and the method of trapping it in his notebook. Since Joseph is an expert hunter, he is also teaching Renee how to hunt. Renee has learned many survival techniques in the forest from her dad, but since she is still very young, she doesn't know how to hunt very well yet. As usual, the father and daughter went into the forest to check the traps they had set. Suddenly, they saw that one of their traps contained a severed animal leg. The rest of the animal was missing from there. Seeing this, the father and daughter became worried. Then Renee says that this must be his doing. He's come back. We aren't told yet what Renee is talking about, but from the look on both their faces, it's clear that whatever it is, it's very dangerous. It's the same thing that has eaten the animals caught in their traps before as well. This isn't the first time this has happened to them. Joseph tells his wife Anne over the walkie-talkie to go to the city and sell the animal hides because they didn't catch any prey today. Joseph and Renee also have a dog with them who helps them catch prey. But due to not getting enough food, he has become quite weak. Meanwhile, Anne sets out for the city with the hides, but she looks very worried because the price of hides keeps dropping day by day. That's why they don't get the full amount of money, and their situation is getting worse and worse. It's gotten to the point where even buying groceries has become difficult. The shopkeeper tells Anne that the hides of common animals sell for cheap. If you want more money, you'll have to bring wolf hides. But Anne knows that hunting a wolf is not an easy task. As Anne leaves the shop, she notices some posters advertising rental houses and jobs. Anne was thinking to herself, if only she had a house in the city and was working at a good job too. But these people have lived in the forest since the beginning, so they don't know anything except hunting. That's why they make a living by selling hides. Now, feeling sad, Anne returns home, where Joseph was teaching Renee how to skin a hide. At night, the whole family was having dinner, but no one was in a good mood because there wasn't much to eat due to lack of money. Then Renee tells her mom that today, once again, that thing stole our prey. Hearing this, Anne starts getting angry at Joseph because Joseph hadn't told Anne about it. Anne sends Renee to her room and starts arguing with Joseph, saying that they need to do something about it soon, otherwise all three of them will starve to death. Actually, there is a werewolf living in this forest, which is so dangerous that no one dares to face it. It kills and eats anything it sees. According to Anne, the wolf has come back because of them, since it knows it will find something to eat in the traps. Joseph has tried several times to catch that wolf, but the wolf is so clever that it has never been caught in a trap. Anne says that they should go to the city and file a report at the police station, but Joseph refuses to let her do that. He says that as soon as morning comes, he will set traps for it, and soon they will catch it. Anne tries to convince Joseph that they should leave the forest and go to the city to start a new life there, where their daughter can also be happy and get admitted to a good school. She too can be successful in life like all the other children. Anne says that after moving to the city, she will get a good job, which will also improve their situation. But Joseph replies that they don't know anything except hunting, so they can't do anything else. Before dawn, Joseph was going out to set traps for the wolf. At that moment, Renee insists on going with him. Joseph doesn't want to take Renee along because she is still very young. But after Renee insists repeatedly, Joseph takes her along with him. In the morning, when Anne finds out about this, she gets very angry at Joseph. Anne starts scolding Joseph over the walkie-talkie. Joseph replies that as soon as he finds any sign of the wolf or if any problem arises, he will send Renee back home. A little further ahead, Joseph spots wolf tracks. He realizes that the wolf is somewhere nearby. So, without wasting any time, he sends Renee back home. Before she leaves, Joseph gives Renee a gun for safety. He tells her that the forest is very dense, and if anything appears in front of her, she should shoot without fear. Renee now slowly starts heading home, but on the way, she begins to hear several strange noises, which frighten her a lot. Meanwhile, Anne had gone to the forest to fetch water, and the same thing happens to her. Anne feels like someone is following her. Anne, scared, makes it back home, but Renee was much more frightened, so she starts looking around the forest and sits down right there. By now, Joseph had also spotted the wolf. He slowly approaches it and pulls out his gun to shoot it. As soon as Joseph shoots the wolf, Renee also hears the sound of the gunshot. She realizes that her dad is nearby, so she gathers her courage and moves on from there. Meanwhile, when Joseph goes to check the wolf's dead body, the wolf isn't there. This means the wolf wasn't hit by the bullet and managed to escape. Seeing this, Joseph becomes quite worried. Just then, he notices a girl's severed hand in front of him, which the wolf was eating. Seeing this, Joseph becomes extremely frightened, because just a little while ago, he had sent Renee home alone. Joseph was scared that Renee might have fallen prey to the wolf. Joseph now quickly moves forward. Seeing the scene ahead, Joseph is completely shocked because there were a lot of women's dead bodies lying in front of him, who had been brutally cut up and killed. Looking at them, it was clear that this couldn't have been done by a wolf, but only by a human. There is someone in the forest who is killing the girls. Joseph now becomes extremely worried for his wife and daughter because he can handle the wolf, but escaping from this dangerous killer is very difficult. Joseph will have to act quickly, otherwise he will have to suffer a great loss. He might have to pay a heavy price. After coming home, these were the only thoughts running through Joseph's mind. He sat quietly, thinking about how he could protect his family from that killer. Joseph doesn't tell his wife and daughter about this because he doesn't want to scare them. As soon as morning comes, Joseph goes back to the same place where the women's dead bodies were found. After a while, he lies to Anne over the walkie-talkie, saying that today he's out to catch the wolf. He says he won't return home until he has hunted it down. In reality, Joseph wasn't hunting the wolf, but was after that killer. A little later, both mother and daughter were by the riverside. Just then, Renee realizes that her dog has been missing for quite some time. She gets worried because Renee loves her dog very much. Now, Renee goes alone into the forest to look for her dog. Suddenly, the same wolf appears in front of her, the one that had been stealing their prey for a long time. As soon as she sees the wolf, Anne also arrives there. The mother and daughter become very frightened. Then Anne suddenly recalls the specific advice Joseph had told them, that whenever a wild animal tries to attack, they should immediately start screaming and shouting as loudly as possible. So the animal gets scared and runs away. Now Anne starts shouting very loudly to frighten it off. Their plan works because the wolf gets scared and runs away. Taking advantage of the opportunity, both mother and daughter run back home, but their dog is still somewhere outside. That's why Anne, picking up her gun and trembling with fear, goes out to look for the dog. She does find her dog in the forest, but by then the wolf had already killed it. Seeing this, Anne is shattered inside. She is deeply saddened by her dog's death. When Anne returns home, she lies to Renee, saying that they couldn't find the dog anywhere in the forest. But she encourages her, saying that as soon as her dad comes home, they'll definitely find the dog. That night, both mother and daughter have dinner and go to sleep. The next morning, Joseph still doesn't come home, nor is there any message from him on the walkie-talkie. Seeing this, Anne starts to feel that something is wrong. She starts to worry about her husband. After that, both of them go back into the forest to check their traps for any catch. There, they find out that once again, their catch is missing from the trap. There, Anne spots a ring, and she is left shocked when she sees it. Her hands start trembling with fear. This ring could belong to the same girl who was eaten by the wolf. Now fed up, Anne goes to the city police station. There she files a report against the wolf so that it can be caught as soon as possible. Meanwhile, a forest ranger officer was passing through the forest carrying a bear's dead body. Just then, he spots a car parked there. Seeing a car in such a deserted spot deep in the forest, the officer is puzzled, but he ignores it and heads towards the office, where Anne was already present at the station. The officer tells Anne that the wolf is an animal. We can't file a report against it because its very nature is to hunt, whether it steals someone else's prey or hunts on its own. Besides, the forest inside area doesn't fall under this police station's jurisdiction. Anne realizes that she won't get any help from there, so she leaves, feeling dejected. That day, a fawn had gotten caught in their trap, and on her way back, Anne takes it home with her. Joseph still hadn't come home. It had been another day since he left, and now they were completely out of food and water. The other problem was that the wolf was still looming over them. So whatever needed to be done, Anne had to do it herself. After that, Anne teaches Renee how to skin the animal. Later, the two of them cook the food, eat it, and go to sleep. In the middle of the night, strange noises were coming from the forest. That's why both mother and daughter wake up in fear. Anne quickly grabs her gun and goes outside to look. There was a stranger outside, and he was in very bad shape. The man asks Anne for help because he was badly injured and looked like he was on the verge of death. Anne quickly brings the man inside the house. The next morning, when Renee goes to the man, he regains consciousness, which startles Renee. She runs to wake up her mom. The man's throat was parched from thirst, so Anne quickly gives him some water. Later, she looks at his leg, which was badly wounded. Seeing this, Anne quickly puts a bandage on his leg. Renee starts to get suspicious of this man, wondering what he was doing in the forest in the middle of the night. That's why she tells her mom that Dad has warned them not to trust any strangers. To this, Anne replies that the man's condition is very serious. If we hadn't helped him, he would have died. Besides, if your dad were here, he would have definitely helped him too. 2 days later, when the forest officers passed by again, the car was still parked there. The officers became concerned that the car had been there for the past 2 days, so they wrote down its number in their notebook. Meanwhile, after 2 days, the man finally regained consciousness. That's when he tells Anne that his name is Lou. Anne asks Lou, "What were you doing alone in this dense forest? What was the reason for you coming here?" Lou replies, "I'm a professional photographer." I go to different forests and take pictures there. I was passing through this forest when my car broke down on the way. That's why I left the car there and walked away on foot. As I was going further, someone attacked me, probably a wolf. It was a dark night, so I couldn't see it clearly. Here we find out that the car the forest officer found actually belonged to Lou. Now, quite a few days pass like this. Lou has now gotten much better than before. Anne and Renee try to catch the wolf, but to this day the wolf has never been caught by them. On the other hand, we see the forest officer, who seemed quite troubled because of the forest, as people kept disappearing from the forest day by day, especially girls. The officer decides that he will go into the forest himself to find out what's going on, which could be his biggest mistake. The officer now moves deeper into the forest when suddenly his foot gets caught in a trap that Anne and Renee had set. As the officer tries to free himself by moving a little, his hand also gets caught in a trap. Now the officer can't go anywhere from here. He's completely trapped here. At the police station, when a female officer arrives, she listens to a voice note from the forest officer's wife, where she says that her husband hasn't come home since last night. The lady officer tries to contact her, but there's no response from the other side. That's why the lady officer also heads into the forest after that officer. By now, Anne was also very worried about Joseph, because it had been almost a week and Joseph still hadn't come home. Anne takes Joseph's map and goes into the forest to search for him, where she sees a rabbit caught in a trap. Anne doesn't want to kill it, but she has no other option. So, even though she doesn't want to, she has to kill the rabbit. Anne continues a little further ahead. There, she finds Joseph's dead body. Seeing Joseph dead, Anne cries a lot. She is shattered from within. Then Anne realizes that Joseph wasn't killed by a wolf, but by Lou. Lou is the killer who murders women and brings them into the forest. Joseph had caught him, but Lou killed Joseph. But by then, Joseph had wounded Lou so badly that he was on the verge of death. This was very disturbing for Anne, because the man she had helped was actually her husband's killer. Anne now immediately runs towards the house because Renee was completely alone at home and Lou was there with her. Meanwhile, the lady officer had now reached the forest. When the forest officer senses that someone is nearby, he fires a few shots from his gun for help, which lets the lady officer locate him. That's why she immediately goes there and calls for help from the station. Anne also slowly enters the house, where she sees Renee, who was sleeping peacefully, but Lou wasn't there because he was hiding behind the door. Lou had realized that Anne had discovered all his secrets. He immediately attacks Anne. Anne and Lou start fighting with each other, and in the scuffle, a shot is fired from Anne's gun. The sound of the gunshot wakes Renee up as well. Before Renee could help her mom, Lou had already knocked her out. By now, the police had also arrived in the forest to help the officer. But the bad thing was that by then, the officer had already died there due to excessive blood loss. The officer sees blood in the forest, so he starts following its trail. Meanwhile, when Anne regains consciousness, Lou is asking her for the car keys. Anne was ready to give Lou the car keys, but first she asks him about her daughter, Renee. Lou doesn't answer that, but he does tell Anne that none of this would have happened if your husband hadn't interfered with my work and had just let me do my job. To keep my secret, I first killed Joseph, your husband, and now I'll kill you too. Anne spots a trap nearby. Seizing the opportunity, Anne hits Lou in the face with the trap. Then, using something lying nearby, she attacks him and knocks him unconscious. As soon as Anne enters the other room, she breaks down in tears at what she sees, because Renee's dead body was lying there. Anne cries uncontrollably for her daughter. She was driven mad with rage. She resolved that she would not spare Lou now. She was determined to take revenge on Lou for her husband and daughter. After this, Anne hangs Lou with a rope and puts on his headphones herself to listen to music. At the same time, she picks up a sharp-edged tool and starts skinning Lou's body. Lou was hanging there just like an animal, and Anne was ruthlessly skinning him. This was the creepiest scene of the movie. Meanwhile, following the trail of blood, the police had also arrived near their house, but by then, Anne had already finished her work. She had skinned Lou's entire body. Anne comes outside carrying the skin from Lou's face with her. The police officers are shocked and disturbed to see this. The officers go inside and see Lou, who is still alive, but he is in such a terrible state that he is writhing in pain. Meanwhile, Anne sits down somewhere while listening to music, missing her husband and daughter deeply, and with this, the movie ends here. How did you like this movie? Be sure to tell me in the comments. Thanks for watching.